Good day, Turks and Caicos, and welcome to another program, Disaster 365, aired on Radio Turks and Caicos 89.1 FM. I'm your host, Alison Gordon, Director of the Department of Disaster Management and Emergencies. Our very special guest today is Miss Tamara Hilton. She's our Training and Education Manager. And therefore, that tells you or gives you a hint as to what we'll be talking about on this program. We'll be talking about training. What is the training department of DD about? What are some of the training programs we offer? So we have a very, very exciting and interesting discussion for you. Welcome to the program, Ms. Hilton.
Good day, Ms. Gordon and listeners. Thank you so much for having me today.
All right, so we want to start things off with us just having a discussion about the training department in a nutshell. What training sessions has the DDME undertaken, or what trainings do we have lined up for the near future?
So we do have a wide range of training sessions offered by the DDME, and I want to say thanks to those persons who would have volunteered to be trained so far. So we offer training in business contingency plan. Of course, this is open to everybody. Once you operate a business, an office space, you're a part of government offices and so on, this is for you. We also offer training in shelters and shelter management, initial damage assessment. We also work in collaboration with social development in offering social needs assessment training, emergency operations center, and of course, this is for persons who would operate in the emergency centers across the islands, even at the national emergency center level. We're looking at offering training for radio and telecommunications. And of course, these are just some of the trainings that we currently have on board for the training unit.
Thank you so much for that, Ms. Hilton. So can you tell us a bit about the goal of these training sessions? Why are they so crucial for community persons and our stakeholders? Why is it so important for them to participate in such training sessions?
So the goal of these training sessions really, Ms. Gordon, is to educate and to create awareness within our community amongst the populace about disaster management, in helping to build disaster resilience in the community and of course, inadvertently within the country. So additionally, with the knowledge that persons would have garnered from these training sessions, they would develop the competencies and the skills that are required for them to manage or operate once there is a disastrous situation within our country. So for instance, we have shelter management training. We need persons who have the competencies to manage, to handle problems that we may be faced with within the shelters, administration, dealing with problems, general operation of shelters. They need to have those specific skills in order to function effectively once the shelters are open. So they need to be educated, and that is why we have these training sessions, to build capacity. Of course, we will help communities through our training to identify the different risks, and of course, they will be able to identify these risks, and in identifying these risks, this will help to reduce vulnerability towards the impact of the different hazards or event that we may be faced with.
Thank you so much for your response, Ms. Hilton. So, are there a couple of training programs that really stand out? Ones that you think our listeners should definitely consider participating in?
Absolutely. So there are two training sessions that really stand out for me, Ms. Gordon. That is shelters and shelter management, and of course, initial damage assessment. And I'm recalling what happened in our recent hurricane impact with Oscar. And within hours, this system developed so quickly. And of course, after the system passed, we needed to go out and have the assessment, whether it was the initial situation overview done, or the initial damage assessment, like for instance on Grand Turk. And we had persons who were trained and ready and willing to go out and conduct these assessments. And so for me, those two stand out. If we had to open shelters, persons would have been trained and ready and willing to go out. So I would encourage everyone, if possible, these are trainings that you would want to participate in, because for me, these stand out and these are critical once there is a disaster.
So you actually, thank you for your response, because you actually really started answering my next question, which is really who should really attend these training sessions? And, you know, is there any specific requirement or criteria for these persons who, again, you want to participate in these sessions?
So our trainings, they're open to everyone. Once persons are willing to be volunteers, they can sign up and do the different trainings. If they have the aptitude, the willingness to participate, they are committed to be present for whether it's 2 days or 3 days of training so that they could be certified, then certainly these trainings are open to everyone within our community, within our country.
Thank you. So how can we sign up? I mean, how can we be a part of this training? I'm listening to the program Disaster 365 on RTC, Radio Turks and Caicos, and I want to sign up. How do I sign up?
So I want to use this opportunity to encourage everyone. Once you have a smartphone, please go ahead and download the DDME app. Once you download the app, there is of course a section there where you can sign up to be a volunteer. You can also initiate which area you would want to be trained in, and once we get that information, we would reach out to you and have you signed up properly for the training. Persons can also send an email to ddme.tci@gmail.com. Let me say that again, ddme.tci@gmail.com. Once you send an email there, make sure you include your name, your contact number, the organization that you work with, because we would want to make sure that we get that approval letter from your supervisors to make sure that you are able to attend the training. Then certainly you can participate in the trainings that we have here at DDME.
Thank you. And if I'm self-employed or if I own my business, I can attend as well.
Everyone can be a part of the training.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for that response. Listeners, you heard it from Ms. Hilton. Ensure that you sign up and be a part of the cadre of trained persons that we have here in the TCI. We're getting close to the end, but I need to ask a question though. What if I did a training, let's say, 4 years ago? Do I need to do that training all over again? Do you have refresher courses? What would be required of me in such a situation?
Yes, we do have refresher courses for persons who would have done the training maybe over a period of 4 years ago or more. We still want those persons to come out and participate, and of course still be active volunteers for DDME or any other social groups across the Turks and Caicos Islands. Once there is a disaster, there's an impact, we need persons to be properly trained. So if you did the training 4 years ago, of course, knowledge is new, content evolves. We would have seen here over the past couple of days with the impact of Oscar, that was a rapidly developed system. And so when you come to the training, these are things that you will learn. You learn about the different hazards. You know those that develop rapidly, those that develop slowly. And so coming into these training sessions, we'll be able to give you the opportunity to refresh the knowledge that you would have gained before. You're also learning new concepts and new content, and therefore it is imperative that persons be retrained once they would have been trained over 2 years, 4 years ago.
Thank you for that, Ms. Hilton. So I have a follow-on because I remember having a conversation with Miss Candian Williams for the TCI Red Cross. What is the link and the relationship? Because she did mention the partnership with DDME. Is there a special area that we partner with her so that at least our listeners can have an appreciation of the link there?
So DDME is not a standalone organization. As we often say, no man is an island, no man stands alone. Here at DDME, we work closely with our partners. We collaborate with them in ensuring that trainings are done and provided for our community. Of course, one such organization is the Red Cross. We have a very closely knitted relationship with the Red Cross Society of the Turks and Caicos Islands. We work with them in providing psychosocial training, and also, of course, we work with them in providing first aid, especially for shelter managers who would be working within the shelters if there is an event, if there is a disastrous impact. If there's a need to offer basic first aid, then they have the capability to offer those first aid procedures. So Red Cross is one such entity that we work closely with.
All right, thank you. And I can even off the top of my head just recall social development too.
Absolutely,
we really do
yes,
some great work with them.
Also,
thank you,
yes.
Thank you for that. All right, so why do you think it is so important? Because in the question that I asked about, persons joining, you emphasize the need for people to join. Why do you think it is important for so many persons to be from our community and also from, the general population to be trained? Why the numbers are important?
So the reality is, Ms. Gordon, we live in an area, or we live on islands that are prone to whether it's natural or man-made hazards and disasters. And therefore, we have to make sure that as a country, as communities, we take intentional steps to ensure that we are prepared. And so one of the ways that we ensure that we're prepared is through training. If we have a lot of persons within our communities trained, this of course will help to reduce the impact of any disaster or hazard within our community. And for me, that is why it is important for everybody to get involved. Disaster is everybody's business. Disaster management is not just for DDME, but it's for everybody within our community. And so for us to have that reach, that impact within our community, within the country, then everybody needs to be trained. We can't turn a blind eye and say, okay, I am not being affected, or it's just one island that is being affected. Once one island is being affected, if persons are being affected, it is the Turks and Caicos Islands, and therefore everybody needs to make it their business to make sure that they're trained and they're fully prepared once there is a disaster or there's an impact.
Thank you so much. That's very profound, Miss Hilton, and well said, because as you rightly said, with a multi-island state, one island may be overwhelmed,
right,
and you need to move, competent resources to provide assistance. So thank you for that. My final question, what would you say to encourage our listeners to take part in training sessions? And in the same breath, if you have any final thoughts, you could also share.
So as I said before, Ms. Gordon, disaster management is everybody's business. Oftentimes when there's a disaster, the entire country looks to DDME. But DDME cannot stand alone. We need support. We have to work with the different entities within our country, different government departments. We have to work with individuals on the ground in order to reach and impact the community in a positive way. And so I want to encourage our listeners to sign up, become a volunteer today. The good that you do now, I believe, it will follow us. It will have positive impact for the future in maintaining sustainability. If we can preserve what we have now by making sure that we take the necessary steps to reduce the impact of hazards, then certainly we can ensure that our country is preserved for the future generation. And so with that being said, I just want to say, everybody, make sure that you sign up today to become a volunteer and be trained.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hilton. It was indeed our pleasure having you. That was indeed a very insightful conversation.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gordon, for this session also. It was a pleasure being here.
Listeners, we just had a discussion with DDME's Training and Education Manager, Ms. Tamara Hilton, and she shed light on the importance of being prepared, the opportunities available for us to get involved and for you to get trained. So, until next time, stay tuned to Disaster 365 on Radio Turks and Caicos 89.1 FM for more updates on how we can stay prepared and protect our beautiful by nature Turks and Caicos Islands. Stay safe.